You don't have to spend long inside of Google Analytics 4 before you come across the concept of a default channel group. These are Google's automatic way of aggregating all of our marketing channels into neat and tidy buckets. These default channel groups, they're documented in the Help Center documentation, which I'll link to in the bottom of this video. But fundamentally, there's around 20 different default channel groups, and they range from email marketing to search marketing to organic and paid social, and everything down to SMS marketing and even push notifications. Now, Google does a really good job of trying to aggregate all of our inbound traffic into these categories. But to understand how that works, we first have to take stock of where Google Analytics exists. So Google Analytics only exists on our websites and mobile applications. And the reason that's important is because out of the box, it has no fundamental concept of where the user was before they landed on your website or opened your mobile application. If a user is browsing Facebook and clicks a link to your website, or they're in an email, they click a link that opens up your app, then Google Analytics only starts tracking from when that app has loaded or the web page has loaded. Now, there is a way for us to pass information from one platform to the other, and the way that that works is by putting information in the destination URL in something called the query string. What we can do is we can pass context from one platform to the other so that when the app loads or the website opens, Google Analytics will be told, in a sense, from you exactly where that user has come from. We use the query string in the destination URL for all of our web marketing. And this doesn't quite work the same for mobile applications, but the end result is exactly the same. We're passing context from one platform to the other. So no, it doesn't work in quite the same way, but it does end up being the same result. We end up using this process called dynamic linking, and dynamic linking is a process where you can dynamically send people to different links depending on whether they've got the app installed, whether they're iOS, Android, or even on a desktop device. I've done a whole deep dive video on dynamic linking and how it works and how you can use it, so check that out in the description. But from a web perspective, we're using the query string, and the query string is anything that appears after the question mark in the landing page. As long as these parameters exist on the page, Google Analytics can read them, process them, and put them straight back into our reports. They are query string parameters for every platform out there, all ad platforms, analytics tools, and beyond. Your website might even use them itself for things like internal site searches. However, there is a specific set of query string parameters that Google Analytics uses. And when we use those, that identifies the inbound traffic source of our marketing links and puts that straight into our reports. These are what's called UTM parameters. You may have come across the term UTM before, but these are a set of query string parameters that are Google Analytics specific. There are three that I want to refer, however, there are more that can be used. The three I want to focus on are UTM medium, UTM source, and UTM campaign. The way to think about these three things is that they're hierarchical. So the medium is the broadest possible option, and then the campaign is the more specific. For example, if I'm running a campaign and I'm sending out an email and I'm posting to Facebook and LinkedIn, then what I might do is I might use the medium of email for my email links, but use the medium of organic social for my LinkedIn and Facebook links. I might, however, use the same campaign name across all three so that if I wanted to, I can aggregate all the data at that level. It's easy enough to say do UTMs on all the links, but actually how do you manage that, especially if you have to roll that out across different channels and teams? So I've done a whole deep dive video on the process behind that and some tools that can help you along the way. I've put the link to the video in the description to learn more. This isn't unique to you. Everyone has to go through this process. For as long as Google Analytics has existed, this has been commonplace. What you'll probably start seeing now as we go through clicking on different links in our own browsing is that everyone is using this. It doesn't matter if you're a small company or one of the biggest companies out there, or even Google themselves. Applying these UTMs does not happen automatically, unless you are using the Google Marketing Platform products, that specifically being Google Ads. So for example, if I'm running campaigns through Google Ads and I've linked my Google Ads property to Google Analytics 4, I won't have to go through this process. That's handled automatically and I don't have to worry about doing anything manually. Auto-tagging is a really neat feature and a really easy way of getting this campaign information into Google Analytics 4. I've done a whole video about auto-tagging, so if you want to learn more about it, check out the link in the description and learn more. However, if I'm running stuff through non-Google products, which is kind of everything else, then we need to make sure that all of these UTM parameters have been added to all of the links. And yes, that might have to happen manually. However it happens, the most important thing is that it does. The reason being is because Google Analytics is a multi-channel reporting tool, so without a view of all of our marketing channels, it's very hard to identify and measure one of them individually. We have to know the size of the pie to understand how big our slice is. So for the next couple of videos, we're going to be going into using Google Analytics 4 to pulling out these source mediums and campaigns, understanding the default channel groupings a bit more, and fundamentally assessing performance of our marketing and how we can go about that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one.